So welcome to this Write for Joy community class, an opportunity for us to come together and explore the possibility of writing with joy, from joy, in joy. If you're arriving and you're not on mute, if you could just pop yourself on mute, just for the recording, there's going to be the opportunity to chat. Yeah, probably towards the end. We'll see how it flows. Yeah, fantastic. So what did I want to say first of all? It's really interesting with the idea for this class. I was talking to someone about it yesterday, and I really can't remember how the idea to kind of run this dropped in. I knew I wanted to do something to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Unbound, my second book, which had its 5th birthday a couple of weeks ago. And I wanted to create something around that. And then all of a sudden I was sharing about this Write for Joy community class. I can't remember how the idea dropped in for it. So it's just, I don't know. It's just something that has seemed to, you know what it's like when something just kind of comes through you and it's like, oh, how did that happen? But I would love to hear, before we kind of dive in, I have got like some slides. I will share my screen because that's what keeps me on track. Otherwise I just go off in all sorts of directions. Oh my goodness, just saw that amazing cat with you, Victoria. But it would be great to hear, like, what drew you to this Write for Joy class, because it feels a bit different from anything that I've kind of created or shared before. So what was it that made you think, oh yeah, I want to be part of this. This is something I want to explore some more. So if you want to pop that in the chat, that would be great. Maybe you don't know. Maybe it's like me, you can't remember signing up to it. Like I can't remember. Oh, Damla, that's so sweet. You, because you're amazing. That's really sweet. Hazel, just having the space to focus on joy. Yeah. Diana, I need more joy in my life. Things have been really hard. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Well, I know you're not alone in that as well. Charlie, you want to bring more joy and pleasure into your writing practice. Yeah. Clara, from the 30-day, oh, chat is getting away from me. From the 30-day challenge, I found towards the end of that, I was literally writing because I wanted to, for joy, indeed. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, recently we did the kind of 30-day lunar month Unbound writing sprint. So I'm so glad you experienced it in that way. Rihanna, to deepen into my own writing practice, creating more connection and embodiment. Yeah. Yeah. Harry, I mostly have written to heal. Now I want to write for joy. Yeah. Yeah. And we get to do both, we get to do both. And, write for all kinds of different reasons. And that curiosity, really, the idea of writing for joy piqued my interest, and we all need more joy in our lives. Yes, we certainly do. Karen, I love to write. I have a tendency whenever there's a project on the go to turn it into work, and I want to change that. Yeah, definitely resonate with that. Victoria, just the chance to write together or even alone. Seema, just before I received your email for this, I had the thought I need to write something meaningful and got incredibly stuck. So your words felt like medicine. Yeah, we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves a lot of the time, particularly when we're writing for other people. Like we know it's going to be shared. It's like, oh, this has got to be like the thing. It's got to be really meaningful and have this purpose. So kind of freeing ourselves from that. Anna, it's easy to get bogged down in getting your book out. Now it's time to just write for joy. Well, Anna, you have just really been in that situation. Like literally your book is making its way into the world, so we're celebrating that. But yeah, like those all parts of the book writing process, and this session is not just about writing a book, but you know, it can feel sticky, and challenging a lot of the time. So, and particularly, you know, towards the end of it, when you're bringing it together and getting it ready to go out into the world, might not feel that joyful at times. So I totally get that. Felicity, I enjoy writing for myself and could perhaps find the same amount of enjoyment in writing for others and for work. Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we dive in, let's breathe together. Let's just land here together. There's something for me about joy that, like, it's interesting. Before we came on, I was looking up the definition of joy, and it's like, I don't need to do that, because we all know how joy, or hopefully remember what joy feels like in our bodies. There's something about it that feels quite like physical. So let's anchor into that as we begin. So you might want to close your eyes for this. Just making yourself comfortable. And we'll just take a few minutes to land here together. Breathing our way into this space that we get to co-create. And as we begin to do that, I can hear a bird outside actually singing really joyfully. So it feels like a beautiful way to bring us into this space where the invitation is to bring our attention to joy. And really, you know, the most important thing I feel about this session is that invitation, that reminder that we do get to write, express, create from a place of joy. There's always the possibility of that. So just breathing into that possibility, that invitation now. And you may like to deepen your breath as you do that. Breathing right down into your belly. Feeling a sense of expansion there. And with each breath in, I'd like you to imagine, know, intend that you are breathing joy into your body, into your being. So with each breath in, allowing yourself to connect with a feeling of joy, however you experience that. And noticing like where you experience joy in your body. Maybe you feel a sense of your heart opening. Maybe you feel it in your belly. I can feel it right now in my solar plexus. some sensation there as I bring my attention to joy, allowing myself to connect with that. So allowing that energy to grow with each breath in. And also noticing if you're finding it tricky to connect with that feeling of joy. It's not necessarily something we can just switch on, just because the invitation is made. And that's perfectly okay, of course. We just get to be curious here. We get to be open. Maybe there's just the tiniest flicker of joy as we come together in this space. Really, as we begin, just about being in this place of noticing. Like noticing how you experience joy in your body, in your being. Maybe if you're not able to access that right now, remembering a time that you did and what that felt like. We're just getting familiar with the feeling, with the experience. So that we can recognize when we are writing, creating from that place, expressing from that place. So just taking a couple more deep breaths in. Whenever that feels complete for you, just bringing a sense of movement back into your body. Opening your eyes, bringing yourself back to where you are. Amazing. So if anyone wants to share in the chat what that was like, what you noticed, please do. Oh yeah. See some lovely stretches, yawns, energy moving, shifting. And as I said in that, I do feel like, maybe the most important thing about this session, us coming together, is like the invitation to write, create from joy. So Carrie, you're saying you envisioned a swell in your heart, red. Clara, heart expanding and sound coming through. Holly, notice my joy comes through heart connections. Yeah. Damla, some anxiety around relaxing into joy. It's totally understandable. Victoria, you felt joy in your throat. Hazel, heart opening and memories of nature. Seema, it was difficult initially, first felt sadness, but as I sat with it, I could feel it in my face and then an through my heart too. Beautiful. Rhiannoch, feeling joy in my heart, face and hands, a sense of expansiveness, freedom and spaciousness. Karen, these are so beautiful. They really are. They really are. A lightness around my womb and belly. Felicity, noticing sense of being filled with white light in my brain and body. Annette, expansiveness in my chest, smiling, memories of recent playful swims in the sea. Anna, I felt expansion in my heart and solar plexus. I remembered how much I loved writing and times in nature. Beautiful. Yeah, I was surprised to feel it like in my solar plexus. I expected it to be in my heart. Charlie, took you to a joyful memory, being on a ride in a speedboat with friends in hysterical laughter, then moved to more subtle joy where I may be able to write. Yeah. Wow, I don't know. Hysterical laughter could be a good place to write from as well. It's so lovely. Like reading all of these is like bringing me more into joy. Like how magical is that? Like, you know, when we have that shared intention and shared experience. And there's something about that. And we will talk a little bit more about that. Okay, I am going to share my screen. And I have got slides, but it's like literally only to keep me on track, as I said, because otherwise I lose track of what I'm saying. So I can see the chat. So if anything comes up during this, please feel free to pop it in there, and then we will open up at the end for any kind of questions, insights, anything you want to share. You know, we know why we're here. And really, like, this is for anyone. But I've kept this slide in. So, you know, it is for anyone who's writing a book or plans to. It's not just about writing for a book. It's also for kind of soul-led entrepreneurs who use writing in their business. So maybe for social media, email, like however you're communicating in your business. Those who have a personal writing practice, I'm sure all of us have a personal writing practice, even if it's not particularly consistent. So you know, if you journal, you do your morning pages. Anyone who feels that their writing currently feels like a chore, a task, a to-do, like another thing on the list. And of course, there are going to be many times when our writing feels like this, and none of this is about like making anything wrong. Like if we're not writing in joy, then, you know, we're failing in some way. No. I pulled a card for us before we came on from Tara Jackson's amazing embodied wisdom deck, which I always use when I'm doing when I'm holding space of any kind. And it was this one, and the card is feel. So, you know, we get to feel all of the feelings. It's not just about joy, but yeah, allowing ourselves to write in and from joy maybe more often than we have been. Yeah, and it's for anyone who wants to create, express more joyfully. So what we're going to be covering in this session, and we should be here, I don't know, around an hour altogether. It depends on how long you know, the discussion part of it is afterwards, the sharing questions. But what we're going to be covering is like, as a typo, never mind. Why writing? Oh no, there's not. Right? Why writing for joy is important. I thought it said why for joy, right? I don't know. I'm getting my words jumbled. Why writing for joy is important. 5 keys to activating joy through your writing. There will be some joy related writing prompts, or not all of them are writing prompts. They're about how you write, maybe rather than what you write. And then at the end, we'll open up for questions and comments. And just to say, like, this is not like I wanted to run this class, this session as a celebration of 5 years of Unbound. So it's not like a webinar where there's going to be a sales pitch at the end. This is not that. But if you are watching this, whether you're here live or accessing the recording, and you want to kind of have some kind of space held for you as you write, whether it's a book or, you know, you're writing for some other reason, we are going to be doing the Unbound Writing Summer Camp kind of from mid-July to mid-August for that lunar month, which is going to be very similar to the Unbound Writing Sprint that we did recently, but we will be having some live writing sessions together online on Zoom. So if you're interested in being part of that, I'll be sharing details of it kind of afterwards when I send the recording. And if there's, you know, if you want to explore any other options, you know, you can always reach out to me. So I think everyone who's here live knows who I am, but I know some people who've signed up don't. So I'll just briefly let you know a bit more about me. So I am author of Here We Were in a Good Girl, Unbound, as I just mentioned, which just had its 5th birthday, Unbound Writing, and creator of the Unbound 365 Journal. I am rebel leader of the Unbound Press. Sarah Lloyd, who's a PR magician, gave me that title, so I totally claimed it. And the Unbound Press is a soul-led publishing company for magical women writing world-changing books. I am a space holder for the incredible Unbound writing community. My background is in finance. I worked in finance for many years before retraining as a hypnotherapist and coach. I've been running my own business since 2010. So yeah, over 13 years now. And I'm based in Southampton in the UK. So why is writing for joy important? You know, why is this dropping in? And I've noticed a lot of people actually talking about joy recently. And maybe that's because, you know, it's something that's been coming through for me, and, you know, we tend to notice what we, you know, what's kind of whatever's coming up through for us, we tend to notice that in others. But it feels like something like we definitely all need right now. And a few of you have spoken to that in the chat. You know, this is partly an antidote to what we've all been through these past few years, personally and collectively, and are going through, you know. So many of us have experienced and are experiencing you know, challenges, transformation, and we're certainly experiencing that collectively. And on that note, I want to say, like, this is not in any way about kind of bypassing or avoiding the feels. It's not like saying, oh no, just be joyful and like ignore everything else, avoid everything else. No, like the idea of writing for joy, creating from this place, expressing from this place, like being from this place, is really about kind of helping us to getting distracted by the chat. What is it about? Totally lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that we can feel more resourced, so that we can feel supported, you know, so that we are remembering and carving out those, like, even if it's just like a pocket of joy, that is going to be so powerful. So Anna, you're saying so much grief and loss in the collective, so much, like, you know, it just seems at the moment, every time I connect with somebody, there's some kind of, you know, loss, grief, you know, something that you know, we're all experiencing right now. So the intention here is that your writing gets to be more than just another thing on your to-do list. It doesn't have to be infused with like this energy of pressure, because you know what it's like when we've got loads of things on the to-do list and our writing is just one of them, you know, whether that is writing for your book, you know, writing a social media post, writing an email, or even your own kind of journaling practice. Sometimes like all of those things can feel like another thing, another task on the list. And rather than coming to it from a place of like openness and like what wants to come and like feeling excited and like full up, we're just feeling this kind of energy of pressure, and we go into kind of contraction, and like that's not supportive for us, and it's not supportive in terms of, you know, our creativity and what wants to come through. So contrary to capitalistic conditioning and all kinds of conditioning that we have experienced throughout our lifetimes, and this lifetime, we get to do things purely for fun. And I think maybe a lot of us have forgotten that, even more so like over the past few years, where, you know, we may have gone into like this survival place, like just trying to get through and forgetting that, you know, joy, fun, playfulness is a possibility. As I said, we've generally been conditioned, like certainly when it comes to writing, well, writing, creating, expressing, actually all of those, like in a very specific, limited way. So, you know, as soon as we go to school, we're taught like to write in a particular way, like even our, I was talking about this the other day, like even the way we write, like our handwriting, like the way we write the letters, certainly when I was at school. It may not be the case now. I guess it's probably not. Handwriting isn't such a important thing, I guess, in this kind of day and age. But like I remember the tension in my body as I was being taught how to write the letters like properly. So we kind of move from that place when we are a child, before we go to school, of just kind of creating for the fun of it and feeling really free with that, and writing like for the joy of it, to being told that we have to do it in this particular way and we have to meet certain expectations. We have to write, create, express within certain parameters, and that continues throughout our life. So we can certainly be going up into our heads whenever we're coming to write, and feel this sense of tension like in our bodies, in our beings, because of how we've been taught to do this, how we've been conditioned to do this. And you know, the energy of what you create and share is important. It does have an impact. People can feel it. And you know, as I say that again, this is not about we've always got to feel like joyful or high vibe whenever we're creating anything. No, of course not. Of course not. But like if we can be allowing ourselves to experience more joy, or whatever the feeling it is that you want to experience more of, as we are coming to our writing, as we are expressing, as we are sharing, as we are creating, we're going to feel a lot freer, and it will come through. It will come through with whoever connects with it. And I do want to say, like, this is not just about, this session is not just about the writing we do that gets to be shared with other people. It's like the writing we do just for us as well, maybe even more so. Oh, Anna, you're saying it still is. What, the handwriting piece? And your dyslexic daughter really struggled with it. Oh my goodness. I can just remember it so strongly. I'm writing with a fountain pen as well, and like trying not to smudge the ink, and oh. So let's move on to the keys to help us write for joy. So the first one is intention. So I just want to say, like, these keys, they are all like really simple. Like for me, there is something around like simplicity when it comes to joy, like keeping things really simple, pared back, like getting rid of the clutter, the distractions, and just like coming back into our beings and allowing ourselves to connect with the joy that is always like within us. You know, we connected with it at the beginning. Sometimes we might find it tricky to connect with it, but it is always there. So like none of these are rocket science. But we forget to do this. We forget, you know, maybe to take a moment before you come to the page, or as you come to the page, or you come to your laptop, to take a moment and set your intention before you write. And this, you know, this is the case whether you want to anchor into joy before you write, but I always encourage writers to really feel into, like, how do I want to feel as I am expressing this, as I'm bringing this through? And if there is going to be a reader, if there is going to be someone connecting with it, and of course that may not always be the case, like if we're like, if it's our own personal practice, like how do we want that person to feel as well? Like very often it will be the same or very similar, but we forget to do that, just taking a moment, and that's all it takes, just to ask that question. Yeah, like how can I connect with joy as I come to my writing today? So you're really making it this conscious, like joy creating process. We're kind of unbinding from that conditioning that tells us that we have to do it in a particular way. We're unbinding from the idea that it has to feel like a pressure. Like we're reminding ourselves, this is not just another thing on my to-do list. Like I'm choosing to do this, and I can choose to access joy in my being through this process. And what that does, it infuses your writing with this really like powerful energy. And if someone does get to receive your writing in some way, as I said, they will feel it. They will feel it. And we get to trust that. It's not about kind of what we write, like trying to write the right thing to evoke a particular response in somebody. It's like trusting that if we are writing in a particular energy, other people will feel it. And actually, as I'm saying that, kind of what I'm realizing as well, that, you know, if we're being really intentional about wanting to anchor into joy as we write, there's something about writing that will actually amplify that for us. Yeah, actually, particularly like handwriting, I'm thinking about, like you can almost make it like a spell that you're casting on yourself. Like as you feel the pen on the page and you write the words, you can imagine or know that you are writing yourself more deeply into joy. I like that. I like that. So the prompt here is just asking the question when you come to the page, or, you know, if you're typing your words, like wherever you do your writing, what flavor of joy do you want to experience? Yeah. Yeah, writing yourself more deeply into joy. I like that too. Thank you, Devla, for reminding me of what I said, because I always forget. So what flavor of joy do you want to experience? And it might feel different. It might feel different. Like we spoke in the chat about some of the different flavors of joy that each of you were connecting with, like during that very short, like opening process connection. Yeah, sometimes it might be like the laughter, like that exuberance. Other times it might be more gentle. Sometimes it might be more heart-opening. Other times, yeah, maybe it's like to do with the throat center, the solar plexus, the belly, like the creative center. Just asking that question each time you come to your writing is going to help you to access like all of these different layers of joy. You know, and the energy in which we create, in which we write, it impacts what's going to come through as well. So that's key number one. Key number two, that picture is not very seasonal, so I do apologize for that. I'm so lazy when it comes to like finding pics to put on my slides. So, you know, it's got a bit more of a like festive, like autumnal vibe, but key 2 is all about slowing down. So you can't really see it in this kind of part of the picture, but whoever it is, like they've got their feet up, they've got their slippers on, they're in front of the fire, they got their cup of coffee. And again, this is something, you know, it's obvious in a way. If we slow down, like we get to savor the process and kind of like allow ourselves to feel whatever it is we're feeling. And if the invitation, the intention is to write for joy, then, you know, if we're not slowing down, we're not even going to realize that we're doing that. We're going to be like up in our heads. So the more we rush, the more unconscious we are. And again, this is something we're taught to do, encouraged to do, to rush, to like squeeze activities in, like to be multitasking, like maybe be like writing and scrolling and replying to an email, replying to a WhatsApp, thinking about what's next. When you slow down, you get to really savor your process. And this can feel like really, really unfamiliar, and maybe even quite uncomfortable to allow ourselves to slow down. Like your nervous system may not be used to that because we are so used to kind of doing all these things at once and rushing around often. So it might feel a bit edgy to actually slow down and allow yourself to savor your writing. That is the invitation here. Noticing what you're experiencing as you write, like having that sense of presence. Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago, maybe 3, maybe 4 years ago, actually, I was on retreat in Spain, and at the time I was writing unbound writing. So I had my notebook and it was during a break. And I was sat on some steps actually writing, and what feels familiar to me, what I very often find myself doing when I'm writing, is writing really, really quickly, often like kind of hunched up, like with my notebook, my shoulders, like there can be a lot of tension there. And just unconsciously, often I find myself doing that. And one of the women holding space for the retreat, like clocked it and was like your shoulders, like, can you just, you know, what would it be like just to slow down and kind of just drop those shoulders? And later on that day, again, I was doing some writing and just allowed myself to sit comfortably, to write slowly, and to actually like really savor the feeling of the pen on the page, like what that felt like, to get really present with it. Totally changed the quality of my writing. You know, when we do this, it allows space for what really wants to come through. Yeah. So slowing down, like that is the invitation here. Maybe these should have been invitations rather than keys. Let's think about them like that. So the prompt here, the invitation here, is just to take a breath when you come to the page, like you set your intention, and also to ask, like, how can I savor this process more fully? Like reminding yourself to slow down. And this is so powerful with anything, really, isn't it? Like, you know, but particularly with all of the, or a lot of these kind of invitations, these keys, they're particularly helpful for writing because it is one of those things where we can get very heady about. So like writing for joy, the way I experience it is really like coming back into our bodies, into our beings. So key invitation number 3 is your environment. So again, with this pick, you're not always going to create like this like gorgeous kind of altar environment. This was on the Unbound Writing Wilding retreat, not from this year, but from last year. So like creating this really beautiful space where we got to like write. But this is a reminder that you get to write somewhere that feels pleasurable for you. It can be like tempting just to, like if you have a desk or somewhere you do your work, to like come to that place to do your writing, whatever it is. And if that feels good to you, then amazing. But what would feel most pleasurable for you in terms of your environment? Making your writing practice like a ritual. And again, it doesn't mean like setting up a space like the one in that picture necessarily. You might want to, but certainly maybe pulling a card, lighting a candle, putting some music on, you know, maybe like having a dance, moving your body before you come to the page. And like this is all part of making it a more intentional process for you, inviting in all of your senses. And this will be different for everyone. Like what feels joyful, what helps you to connect with joy. Certainly beauty is something that helps me to connect with joy. Music, not when I'm writing, but before I write, if I move my body or if I go for a walk in nature before coming to my writing, all of those things help me to connect with joy. So what is it for you? Like honoring your unique process and honoring like yourself as a writer. And again, that's whether you are the author of a book, you're writing for your business, for your work, or you know, for your personal writing practice. Yeah. And maybe taking yourself somewhere different to write, somewhere different from where like your usual environment. You know, particularly if you have like an office where you do your work, whatever that is, taking yourself somewhere different to write in order to access a different energy and invite more joy into the process. So that could be something, I mean, it could be something like going on a writing retreat, either a solo retreat or with other people, or it could be going to a coffee shop for an hour, or like going out somewhere beautiful in nature and writing, or out into your garden. Like that's what I love to do in the summer, is take myself outside and to write. That helps me to connect with this feeling of joyfulness. So the prompt, the invitation here is, how can I infuse joy into my environment? Like what will feel joyful for you? Key number 4, or invitation number 4, is about content, like what you are actually writing. So we've been talking a lot about how you write. And I think, you know, a huge part of it is how you write, because if we're not being like conscious about how we're writing, and again, I want to kind of preface that by saying that like we're not always going to be conscious about how we're writing. So, but you know, as often as we can, if we can be more conscious, then that's the most important thing. So that's why we were talking about that before we get to like what you're actually writing as well. But this is a really important part of it. So what you write as well as how you write gets to be joyful. Your writing doesn't always need to be productive. It doesn't always need to have a particular purpose. Now, like often you are going to be writing for a particular reason. You know, if you are working on a book, if you are like writing something for your work, for your business, yeah. I mean, even, you know, if you're coming to your journaling, like maybe there is the purpose, like, you know, as Carrie mentioned, of healing, of clearing something through. But there are times, and this is about carving out times when we get to write like purely for the joy of it. We get to let go of those expectations and remember, as I said here, what it was like to write as a child, you know, writing a story just for the fun of it. It might not be a story that you write. You might just kind of come to the page and what would feel like fun? What would feel joyful for me to write? Might just be like kind of doodling something, just seeing what kind of words, like allowing yourself not to make sense. Allowing your writing to be internally motivated rather than externally. So not thinking about, right, you know, what are people going to think about this? Like, is it making sense? Am I doing it properly? Like really allowing yourself to connect with like the child within you, like that playful spirit, your creative heart, and seeing what wants to come. Allowing what you write to be messy, playful, exuberant, delightful, you know, full of delight. Like what would delight you right now in this moment to write? We probably don't know, to be honest, because, you know, we've forgotten what it was like to do that, or that there was even a possibility. I don't know, like some of you probably are like writers of fiction. I know that some of you are, but again, sometimes I know I had an idea for a story drop in last year and my immediate thought was, oh yeah, and that could be a book. But what if I allowed myself to write that story just for me, like just for the joy of it? Yeah, I just kind of recognized that possibility when I was like feeling into this class. Like very often I'll go to is like an idea drops in, it's like, oh yeah, and I could do this with it, and this is how I could be sharing it with other people. Like what if we just allowed us to have that experience for ourselves initially? Let me see what's coming on in the chat. So Diana, I feel like I always made my writing a really serious thing, even as a child and especially as a teen. And it's carried over for sure now into my 40s. Wow, great realization. Do you know what, Diana? Like, I really resonate with that. I think it's only when I was really little that I wrote purely for the joy of it. Like it happens so early on that we start to pick up this message that, you know, we have to write in a particular way. So it'd be so interesting to see what wants to come through from this place of joy. Karen, embarrassing confession time. Yay. Love an embarrassing confession. I used to write fan fiction as a teenager. Over the past year, I've come back to it if I find myself getting writer's block. It's a way of reminding myself I can write while taking the pressure out of it to create something meaningful and brilliant. Yeah, I mean, that's so heavy, isn't it? That pressure to create something meaningful and brilliant. And kind of squeezes all of the joy out of it, doesn't it? And you know, we are living through like some really serious times, and I feel like it can feel like even more of a pressure to be writing something meaningful, something purposeful, and to be saying the right things as well. Like there are just all these different layers of pressure that we're experiencing when it comes to, writing and expressing ourselves. So this process, this invitation is really about, oh, what if I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff, and just I allowed myself to write for the joy of it. Yeah. And maybe when we do that, it does get to be something that we want to share, but that's not the default, like the default thinking. It's not like, oh, this thing has come, how am I going to share it? What does it get to be? It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be anything. It just gets to be like a joyful experience for you. So the prompt, the invitation here is, what does my inner child want to write? And I really invite you to go like way back when we're in terms of the inner child, like that child within has still got that playful spirit, that kind of creative freedom, connecting with that part of you if you're able to. Or just, what would feel joyful for me to write right now? Sometimes the inner child work can feel heavy as well, of course. So, and key 5, invitation 5 is connection. Connection. So your writing is a powerful way to connect with others, and joy gets to be sparked through that connection. Like we can feel it today in this session, like being here together, like chatting, sharing insights, like it just kind of amplifies. It's, there's a possibility there of amplifying joy, of sparking joy. So this is really about, like, if you are sharing your writing, and I like to get crayons and colors out to entertain my inner child writer. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Bringing all those gorgeous things to the page. So, as we've been speaking about, when we're thinking about sharing our writing in some way, it's really, really easy to go into this place of like having particular expectations, which again kind of squash all of the joy, or can squash a lot of the joy out of the process. Like we can think about, oh, well, how many people is this going to reach? Is it going to do what I want it to do? Like, am I including the right call to action? How many, I think I said, how many people is it going to reach? So if we focus on connection rather than kind of visibility, reach, having a particular outcome, that frees us up to experience more joy. Like we get to experience the joy of actually writing what we're writing, and also kind of another layer of that is the joy of connecting with others through our writing. Like when we write from joy, it's contagious. And, I'm sure a lot of us have experienced this, where we've shared something, like it's just kind of bubbled up within us. Something joyful, something funny, something quirky, and we've just put it out there without really thinking about it. And the response to that can be much greater than something that we kind of struggle over for hours trying to make it meaningful, because people can feel that sense of freedom, of joy, like streaming through. So allowing ourselves to express freely and trusting that it will create the connection, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it feels waffly. Oh my goodness, that's something I hear so much. And like I hear it so much from myself as well. I'm hearing it right now in this session. It's like, Nick, like you're so waffly. Like this judgment can be huge for us. So like kind of trying to letting go as much as possible from those judgments. And even if it's, weird, just allowing yourself to express freely as much as possible, and trusting that is what's going to create the connection. there's a couple of other pieces around connection and how it relates to joy. One is like writing together in community. So, you know, coming together maybe in like spaces like this and getting to write, maybe writing together in person, like arranging writing dates with some of your friends. So, you know, writing in connection can just feel so joyful. I know when we have unbound writing sessions in, you know, one of the containers that I hold space for, like there can be so much joy through the connection in those spaces. And the other piece here, which just dropped in before the session, was, you know, writing with the intention to actually spark joy in somebody that you love, that you know. So maybe I just saw when I was downstairs a bit earlier, my husband had written a birthday card to his mum. He nearly always forgets her birthday. And I'm not the kind of wife who is very good at reminding him about birthdays. It's just like, no, I'm just not very good at remembering dates and things. But he's remembered this year. And he bought this gorgeous card, and you know, I just saw that I don't know what he wrote in it, but I can see it's all there ready to send to her. And I just thought she's going to experience so much joy when she receives that, and she's not had to remind him that it's her birthday, and like he's picked her a really gorgeous card. So, you know, writing with that intention, maybe writing a note or a card or a letter. I mean, it could be an email, couldn't it? Or like a WhatsApp message, but actually handwriting something and sending it through the post is gonna like evoke so much joy in you and also the person receiving it. So yeah, that's another layer of connection and joy that we get to experience. So how can I share my writing with joy? That is the prompt. That is the prompt here. And who could you write to? Like even just a quick note, a card, with that intention to connect with joy. Beautiful. I'm going to stop sharing. How are we doing? What has been sparked off, if anything? That is all of the keys, the invitations. So if anyone has any questions, anything you want to share, anything that has dropped in through that, anything that's been sparked off, and you are free to put it in the chat, or if you want to pop your hand up, you can unmute yourself. And if not, if you just want to let it percolate and bubble away, that's all good too. Yeah, really, it opens up a lot of freedom and lightness. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, this is not the kind of session where like we're not really trying to figure anything out here. Like I said, it's all about the invitation and the reminder. Diana, you want to send fun mail to your nieces and nephews? Thinking about that brings me joy. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I've outed Mr. H as a really bad son who doesn't remember his mum's birthday, but Rhiannoch, I love the invitation to connect with my body, my environment, my playful self, and getting away from being productive. Yeah. Anna, it's really reconnected you with the joy you felt in writing as a child. Yeah. And I think when we've been in this process, Like many of you here are either in the process of writing a book or have been in that process or are thinking about that process. You know, that can feel like a lot. So to reconnect with the idea of writing for the joy of it, like we used to as a child, is really powerful. Deborah, my best friend is on the end of life pathway. I've just been inspired to send her love notes, sharing so many ideas that have just dropped in and been ignited by layers of joy. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Deborah. Harry's battery is dying. So if you disappear, thank you. Well, thank you for being here, Carrie. It's always a joy to see you. Felicity, you're going to play with setting the intention to connect with joy when you write. Looking forward to experimenting. Thanks so much for the class in celebration of 5 years of Unbound. You need to go now. Perfect. Hazel, you love the idea of being messy, waffly, and weird. Like if you can get all three of those into your writing, like you are winning as far as I'm concerned. Like what an amazing intention. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write something messy, waffly, and weird. Seema, I love the reminder to include all senses, trying to bring back my essential oils. When I get into productive mode, the lovely ritual pieces slip away. Yeah, we just kind of get into that place of, oh, I just need to get this done. So I love that. Clara, so encouraging to keep honoring the fundamental joy of writing for expression's sake. Liberate my words. Thank you. Yay. Oh, Victoria, you've been contemplating writing for joy versus writing about joy. Yeah. Yeah. And your sons don't remember your birthday either. I don't know. What is wrong with these? What is wrong with these men? Oh, fantastic. Well, look, keep me posted. Keep me posted with what gets sparked off. No, that's true, really. I am terrible. I'm really bad at birthdays. So I was like amazed that Mr. H had remembered his mum's. Nikki, I think the fear of doing it all right has prevented my writing. I'm constantly thinking about the audience. That definitely comes from being a teacher. I always encourage my pupils to write what makes them happy and joyful. Well, how beautiful. As a teacher to be doing that is amazing. Yeah, and you're definitely not alone in that, kind of always thinking like we can be in that place generally, not just with our writing, like how we're living, like thinking about how other people are perceiving us, to so for you know, to allow ourselves to switch off from that even just for a short time is going to be super powerful. Okay, my loves, you can see Victoria finding herself. I've got mine here. I'm not showing off or anything, but it's very necessary. Oh, Charlie, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you all for joining. Like I said, do keep me posted with your kind of experiments with writing for joy. I feel like this is going to be an ongoing conversation. And if you're watching the recording, absolutely let me know. Really, really so welcome. It's just been a joy to gather with you and have this time. So yeah, enjoy, and I'll see you soon. All right, lots of love. Bye.